Hello, boys and girls. My name is Yoshi 1907 here, welcoming you back to my 100% blind playthrough of Pokémon Legends Z-A for Nintendo Switch 2, where we seem to find ourselves in a mix of battle zones and side missions again, or rather hyperspace zones. Anyways, let's say hello to Ivar briefly before doing stuff. Hello, Yoshi. See, you even recognized me. Hey Yoshi, so you're Ivar Sensei's rival. We heard a great deal about you. I'm Lens, a devotee of the Pokémon known as Throh. Pleased to meet you. Sneaking in with your own introduction when I was speaking to him first, are you? Just the underhanded move I expect from a Throh fan. I'm Freppy, an eternal follower of the Pokémon called Sawk. You caught us all at an interesting moment, Yoshi. Let me explain. These two fervent fans are of Sawk and Throh, respectively. Each believes their Pokemon is stronger, wish to settle the matter with a team competition. I have a team of 4 Throh, but I need a 5th. Would you rank? And ranks with your own fair Yoshi, you could even be captain for the final match. Go again, Steam My Thunder. Typical sneaky Throh fan. I've been looking for a 5th Sawk, too. Please, both of you, calm down. Hello, Yoshi. Do you feel more to support one of these two? Then you might to Sawk, Yoshi. Give your support to the Throh front, Yoshi. Okay. Ooh, this is a different one. It just now told us that we need to do one with just a single Pokemon again. We haven't had a chance to train it either, because we literally just got it. No more than a few minutes ago, and also we're starting to really run out of Pokemon now. I didn't really get much Throh set up, but our Throh is also super tanky because we got it in Alpha form. But we also got an original one here, but I think we got a good setup here. Alpha it is, I think. I think it could be pretty much anything that we use, but more than likely we're gonna get destroyed unless it's a certain level. Okay, there we go. That's more like it. You can see it more clearly. Alright, well, yeah, I'm not going to waste too much time doing nothing, but, yeah, all these, special items, yeah, let's use those now. I don't know how many I want to use, though, so we'll start with just a bit of attack, and then give it some of these for attack. Surely that will be enough to... Oh, it's already saying it won't have any effect. That means the HP is already perfectly stacked. Alright, we'll get it some of those stats first, and then we will probably need to level it up to a really high level. I don't know what to do, so I'm just gonna give it 20 of these. See how high that takes it. Then we're going to start taking 3 EXPL candies at a time. This is actually why I saved all these candies, by the way. It's already recommended to save these candies for more important stuff, but, like, this is definitely one of those times where, like, if we want to really get through this faster, but still win the solo battles somewhat easy, we need to make sure that it has all the stuff that we need, and now we need to also check its summary. I didn't mean to check its summary, actually. I wanted to change it to... We could do TMs, so let's just go for TMs first and go for that. We could use our Storm Throw move. We could use Whip Break, we could use something else. We have Outrage even. We could try that. Maybe that'd be interesting. I think I'm just gonna stick with these for now. I think we need, like, somewhat fast moves as well as things that might help us do damage faster. So we want Protect, but we also want to find some way to quickly defeat it too. Alright, now for the hard part. We had to delete a bunch of Pokemon, but there's another problem. We do not have a bunch of Pokemon to delete. So how are we gonna do this? We're just going to erase a bunch. Do I really care what they were before we did stuff? Not really. But yeah, we're gonna have to release. I figured we would have to get to this at some point, but right now it's like really happening. Now we literally have too many Pokemon that we have to release them all. Just so we can start this solo battle. Alright. Beyond that, Throh does not have a Mega Evolution, so I'm not sure whether to give it a Citrus Berry or something more tankier. I think I'm gonna go for the alternate safe strat. And by alt strategy, I mean not giving it a berry and giving it leftovers instead. We should have favored the leftovers before we did this. I was about to say, it's gonna take forever to find it, but no, we found it. Alright, give this to him so he heals over time, and so we have to do Throh. Give your support to the Throh Prawn, Yoshi. Does that mean you're gonna join the Throh Prawn? Well, there we go. Congratulations on going the ranks of the Throh Prawn, Lance. Thank you for choosing the Throh Prawn, and I'm very honored to have you. So, we're gonna battle. Now it's time for a competition to commence. Allow me the honor of serving as witness and referee. Let's make sure we all know the rules. Our Throh is bigger because we have a... We'll have 5 matches with the team captain steering the final one. The team with more wins overall will be the victor of the competition. Huh? Wow. Wait, we can't really do much, Sawk of the Swift Wind and Throh of the Fleet Foot. Hawk of the Swift Wind wins. Oh, is this just automated? So I didn't need to level him up? Sawk of the Roaring Waves versus Throh the Ardent. Throh the Ardent is victorious. Sawk the Immutable versus Throh the Leg Technique. Okay. Throh the Leg Technique. So it's gonna be even on purpose, so we have to win last. Horde match pits Sawk the Brutal Strike against Throh the Artful Foot. Okay, if we actually have a battle, then this won't be as bad anymore. Look at the Brutal Strike. We're tied at 2 hands each. Tommy Salas, Team Captains, take place with your Pokemon. Oh, wait. Now we actually have to do stuff. Okay, so we have to go for all those cutscenes just to actually defeat his Pokemon properly this time. Probably like the other battles, we were going to want to try and protect first, once it actually does the move. Perfect. It didn't hit his super move right off the bat. And from there, we're just kind of spamming moves, hoping for victory. It seems like we leveled them up just enough, actually. Yeah, we were about level 80 that we needed. Even Sawk's mighty bows couldn't stop you, I admit it. I'm impressed. And just like that, we're done. Okay, well that was cool. The winners are Throh Prawn and its team captain, Yoshi. Alright. Just like that, we're done. You did it. This is a victory for all Throh. We picked Throh just because he simply has more tanky power and is also probably a little bit better. Not to mention we have the alpha version of him, whereas we didn't for Sawk, so it was easier said than done. You fought admirably. Throws are, as always, masterful. Yeah, we have Storm Throw too, which is like his iconic move. Thank you, but we could have run without Koyoshi's help. Really, our competition has given me a new admiration for Sawk. Hope you'll teach me more about what makes it so great. Alright, well, that wasn't so useless after all. Turns out we did just enough. Sorry, our opponent, even in defeat, is very good sportsmanship. We've embodied the two spirit of martial arts here today. Thank you for your aid, Koyoshi. The Sawk Squad's next objective will be to get Koyoshi as a future member. The Throh will make a permanent team captain spot for Koyoshi too. This looks so weird, since we are, of course, are using an alpha Throh, but it just changes up the cutscene a little bit. Hope that didn't distract you guys too much. Put away this held item for now, and now we get to do that. The leftovers was mostly just a safety case in case we needed to do something. Okay, we're just gonna take this right out, and then we get to put everyone back in again. It's not I don't mind the solo challenges, they're actually an interesting mix up that makes the game interesting for what it is, but when you have to do so many of them in a row, it starts to get a little annoying, don't you agree? Wonder how much more spots we have left anyway. Still probably not enough for us. We're gonna release a couple of copies of these Pokemon right here just to keep up. I think we released some before, but now we're actually going a little bit more ham on these. Obviously, I do not care about multi-training or actually like using them in big battles, so we're probably not going to do that. The only ones we're going to keep, though, is the ones that aren't repeats, so that we can have at least one of each at some point. Just in case we decide to go for a full living dex, or even a living dex of shinies. And of course, we're not going to ever release a shiny Pokemon either. That'll be just to keep, honestly. Alright, just like that, we now probably have a lot more room for catching now. Now we should be ready for whatever the wild zones throw at us. As soon as I actually remember where my other one ended up. I know there were solo challenges, but I haven't seen one in a while. The only one I really know about, though, is one that typically more or less requires you to have a Lucario that's completely maxed out. Pretty much entirely. Alright, here we go. Through Edge, get back in here, and hopefully we can keep you here this time. Still have Raichu as well. Alright, long story short though, we weren't there just to do other stuff, obviously, not even in the slightest. We actually are here for a much different reason. What you saw there was just one of many battle stuff. Now, we're actually going to take this to the next level. Since it's been a while, we're just going to go into these battle zones, and we're going to have fun, and I think the setup is mostly normal and steel type. Both of those types are typically weak to fighting types, so it's time to bring in someone we haven't seen in a while, Lucario. This is the Pokemon I mentioned that I trained a lot, because I actually had to train it specifically this way, because there's a very tough battle looming soon, which we need Lucario for, pretty much. Alright, where's the one that isn't? Oh, wait, I didn't even check. We could have catching power, I guess. What's Mungo power? Doesn't matter. Wait, no, we had the defensive, no, I actually want to save that one for a boss. Okay, we'll use these two. These two ones we got up, we got these up for a reason, just to, like, have higher power, but we're gonna use these in our battle zones, and see what happens. I know we typically want stuff that gives us more offense to get through the battles quicker, but honestly, in these zones, you can heal just like you did before, so as long as you're fast, you can heal. So, back into the battle zones! So yeah, these are basically just like the regular zone subs, but they replace lots of normal battles that would be probably really tricky otherwise with actual battle zones. So these are similar to other zones, but they're also different at the same time. Okay. So it's supposed to have mostly Normal and Steel types, yet our one Pokemon hasn't been able to super affect any of them yet. Alright, well, the big difference with these, besides also still being able to collect items, is that you fight trainers instead of Pokemon, but more importantly, you have to do other stuff too. Okay, we do have a fire type. I got her back to a slightly weaker Pokemon for no good reason or another. Of course, the one trainer that has a ghost type. Because when I think of steel types, I also think Ghost Steel, which is really annoying for our fighting type, because he can't quickly defeat them. Oh, he can, oh, looks like we could still get healed, just like in regular battle zones. So before I didn't get to do most of these because I simply didn't have enough time, or rather just didn't even find trainers, but these are a little bit different. The key to these is to just keep winning over and over again and defeat as many trainers as you can before you then have to go and get other stuff. Beyond that, they have the same items and setups like battle zones, except they have more somewhat risk to them. Ugh, barely avoided his detection. Right as I did something else, yet another person who... Oh, okay, well, his primary is also resistant too, to be fair. Unlike regular battle zones, you at least get a hint as to who to use for which, so it helps out a lot. Okay, this is a tougher trainer, more than likely. Depending on the strength of the trainer, it'll be a lot harder or easier to defeat them. And some of the stronger trainers won't look normal at all. They're actually more like ghosts, which you see here. They're like just brief intros of what people would look like normally. These trainers are usually typically harder because they have, for some reason, they really like to have a lot of alpha Pokemon quite a bit. So this is where I mentioned where even though the level will say 170 and a couple of other things, more often than not, that doesn't necessarily mean that it'll be the same. These holograms, especially, these are the big ones. Oh, they are nice to me, it seems. There's not really any point to explore these areas fully, except when we actually need to get stuff done. But yeah, you basically have two types of trainers here. You either got normal, ordinary trainers, which aren't too hard to defeat, and then hologram trainers. Hologram trainers are much tougher than normal trainers. They typically take longer to defeat and all that stuff. I'm gonna have to start using close combat more often. Arvia's mostly equipped with Bullet Punch and Aura Sphere, because this is how we're supposed to typically deal with these other ones. Despite having mostly normal types, it feels like a lot of these trainers are giving me much option to actually use our fighting types. To be fair, the people on here are probably a lot smarter than the Wild Zone trainers, because they're much stronger typically. Oh, we're already in here with Raichu. We'll keep going. Just like that, we're done. Ugh, we don't even see anything that's happened. Oh, and he's healing us. Conveniently enough, you can still get individual battles. You can still run away from battles too, though with how many trainers there are and how useful they could be, probably better to actually like straight up run into each of them. He just missed because he hit a wall. What an idiot. So what was the point of that then? I decided to switch just once to see how this goes. Persian. This is another one we haven't seen in a long time. This is the normal Persian that most people are probably familiar with if you watched the original Pokemon series. Okay, well, that was quick. I just need to actually find the thing. Dude, there's a lot more trainers in here. I will say, they definitely threw a lot more trainers in here than normal. Okay, extra tricky. I like how we're fighting it for all the way down here, just kind of getting the down. Hey, guess what, Chip? I have the high ground now, so there's no way you're beating me. Thought I would say that at least once. That's cool. We just took him up for a completely different platform. And we're gonna do it again. Well, I guess our Embor's technically down there now, but like, we're up here still. Oh. Okay, this time it didn't work. Oh, but now he's moving over. Once again, I have the higher ground. You cannot stop me. Yeah, I see. Except for when there's extra stuff, more often than not, it's harder to do stuff. The reason why I said some of these battles are useless is mostly, well, beyond the normal battles you do, like the regular battles you usually do in the wild zones, and the actual normal battle zones. Actually getting these done isn't really the best setup in the world. In fact, it's more or less trickier to do stuff. Basically, the only reason we're defeating trainers is to, well, get the points for our research. That's all. That's all we're doing beyond that. But as you can see, they don't give you any money whatsoever, and their main stuff can be pretty tough to use. But beyond that, the area more or less functions the same like Wild Zone, just with people on you instead. I don't really have a lot of time on this. I kind of wasted a lot of time. So while these are easier to technically get points in some little bit of a way, the problem is you already don't have much time to stay in the distortion, but you spend a lot more time battling than you do doing wild counters. With wild zones, they're much easier. You can just skip stuff, but they can have tougher goes occasionally. Whereas these zones, they're a lot tougher to get all the stuff done, because you spend a good minute or so defeating the trainers first. So a lot of time is wasted just doing that, so more often than not, the golden ball becomes nearly impossible to grab unless you're really high level compared to it. Not to mention, we also purposely picked a large hyperspace zone instead of a normal one because I wanted to show you that some of these could be much bigger. The most common is medium, of course, but there's sometimes more than that. And then you also got these people coming off all over the place. Beyond being forced to at least do at least one no matter what, you could still run away from these trainers like you do before, except it seems a little bit tougher. Yeah, especially if you can't even get away for like a minute or two. I want to see if I can find something. This will get interrupted, by the way. We just came here anyways to get us items. But yeah. Large zone. Way too rough to typically get through. So yeah, we could not find the golden because we simply were not fast enough. Yeah, super annoying. Got it? Now you see how annoying those zones are and why don't you typically do them? They take a much longer time to get through than normal due to the other stuff. Not to mention, you still can't even get to the golden ball until later. So, at this point, it's much harder to get through, so you're pretty much forced to battle everyone. So yeah, if you're looking for good balls, those are typically not the place to find them. And now do you see why I hate those zones? They should offer you more money, theoretically, in a normal run, and I feel like they should. In fact, if we look at it now, it looks like we did at least get some money, but beyond that, they just don't give the early as much money as the regular zones do. Not to mention, they're just straight up better options in doing that. So yeah, that's why I don't like them. Because the wild zones actually allow you to catch Pokemon, whereas the wild zones in here are much weaker compared to the normal ones. Not saying that they're not bad, they're cool. You can get some items for finding and defeating some of the tougher trainers, but beyond that, they're really difficult to get consistently down. I knew this was gonna happen as soon as I saw the way this was set up. Guess we're using Rock instead. And saving our... Thankfully, this one's also pretty easy. I guess the simplest part about this is typically, you just have to defeat trainers more often than not, so it's not too hard, and also sometimes there's some interesting ones around as well. Like, right now, there's one for knocking out a certain amount of trainers in one hit. That one, of course, is easier if you have a stronger donut, because then you can guarantee that you can knock them out in one hit. Alright, we need Rock Side for this Bolga. Beyond that, I guess you could say they're simpler. If you know what to do, especially, they could be a bit more simpler if you know how to use your Pokemon properly. Because the goals tend to be a little bit easier than the other stuff, but these battle zones also tend to be harder to find stuff, because once you're actually done with all the trainers, trying to actually go through and get all of the items takes a long time to get. Yeah, that's probably the toughest part. Not to mention you can't even get access to the golden ball anyway. Oh, hang on. Okay. Well, that works. Just like that, we're done. Of course, not all these trainers are strong, so of course some of them will be pretty easy to beat. The ones that are really tough are the hologram ones. Those are the ones we have to really watch out for. But they can give us some good rewards if we beat them too, so those are ones that we're gonna have to look out for. Alright. I think the easy part with these is, like I said, you can build up your tasks a little bit faster in these versus normal zone, but actually trying to get to them while the other trainers are around is a lot more annoying because half of the time you keep getting caught and doing other stuff. It's so annoying to the point where pretty much, if you want to go to a general area, you're probably going to want to just fight the trainer rather than waste time doing anything else, because you can get through much faster that way. Yeah, okay, it doesn't look like we got any money from it. Maybe we just get it at the end. Have you ever considered that? Sometimes they run towards you if they see you. Other times they don't. Okay, I'll just like that. We're done at that. But man, though, if you thought these zones are crazy, this is actually... What if I told you this is just the beginning portion? Depending on the internet and setup, these trainers can sometimes have up to level 200 Pokemon if they get good rolls or whatever. Meaning they can have a lot of stats. Oh yeah, and by the way, defeating trainers sometimes will reward you with so you need to make sure to collect those too. Beyond that, it's just go around, defeat as many trainers as you can, and then hope to you get lucky enough to actually find where you're looking for. Okay, that still worked. That almost didn't work, but it did. Okay, we're gonna have to go around this wall here first. Trying to set up all its defenses, but then we just had to take it out of one hit anyway. That's Excadrill for you. He has a lot of flipping power in him, so look at him, so full of himself. Alright. Okay, we got a slightly stronger trainer. Any of the hologram trainers are stronger because they have alpha Pokemon instead of normal Pokemon. I forgot to mention, yeah, that's the little tricky part. Up to this point, we've never faced any alphas, but whenever we find these strange people that have, like, holograms, these guys only have alphas, so they can be pretty tricky. But they're also pretty useful, as you can see. They're the only ways to get bottle caps repeatedly. Yeah, remember those items? They're usually pretty limited, but because of hyperspace zones, you can get those infinitely now, thanks to just being able to farm them here. And this is one of the best places to get it. So I guess if you need to actually train your Pokemon, then hyperspace battle zones are where you get some of the rarer items. You can usually find at least one of two of these holograms per area, and then you can find stuff. Beyond that, I think that's the only use for these zones. Like, if you're trying to 100% like me, you're probably not going to spend much time in these zones. But if you're trying to actually, like, multiplayer or play stuff in the game, you may want to find bottle caps by going in here repeatedly. Also, pay attention to these guys with this logo on them, because more often than not... Oh, I think we're close. We are very close to a thing. For those of you who don't know, it's really tough to find these stupid balls half of the time. Your only hint is to listen to the noise that it makes. Like, if it has a ooh noise, which I'll show you in a minute when we get back. If it hears that if you hear that noise, that typically is your only indication that you're close to a golden ball, which we just finally found. Jeez. Okay, well that makes up for what happened the last time. Why couldn't it always be this easy, man? I went pretty much everywhere and literally didn't find one somehow. I guess that big battle zone was just really left for some reason, whereas this one was just so much easier. Technically, in a normal run, because of this, it makes sense to say that, well, more than likely, you're able to easily get these battles done a lot easier, since you have more options. Also, we have our own alpha, so we're kind of on equal grounds, actually. So we're defeating an alpha trainer with our own alpha Pokemon. Safe to say she's kind of outmatched. Of course, these are the trainers we're kind of looking for if we want some rare items, so... yeah. Okay, it looks like these are only normal bottle caps, unfortunately. Maybe we could get a golden bottle cap from some of them, but I don't think so. So beyond that, we're kind of just gonna have to look out for certain trainers and try and defeat them. But not all of them give you stuff anyway. So like, do you want to stay in and battle longer, or do you want to do other stuff? Also, because these are not like the normal zones, you don't get nearly as much experience coming here than if you came in any other spot. So that's what makes it super tough. I got half of these people don't even have specific names anymore. They're just named young lady, young... man, all that kind of stuff. Of course, beyond that, these are like also normal battle zones in that. Unlike the other areas, which can sometimes run out of Pokemon after a while, these do not run out of Pokemon, so you can keep grinding these. And depending on who you fight, you might get some items. Alright. Beyond that, though, there's not really any point in staying in these zones more than you need to be. Somehow this moon didn't see us, despite us really charging off the cliff like, charging off the cliff all of a sudden. But tried to think of something and I didn't. By the way, sorry Pikachu fans, it seems like we've been taking out quite a few Pikachus today. I'm normally not this mean when it comes to taking out Pikachus, but it seems like that's all these trainers like using so far. If it's just you wait, we'll probably be facing harder trainers anyway. Alright, okay, I'm thinking I'm really overstaying my welcome now. Time to get out of here. The only problem with these zones is, it seems like you don't get as many items and berries as from them, but these are also the only places to get stuff like bottle caps, and I guess you mainly want stuff like, see the masteries, which we got in there too. Beyond that, battle zones are kind of useless for normal grinding. It's so much easier to just do a wild zone. In fact, to show the proof of concept, we're gonna go do a wild zone right now and just show you how much more useful these things are. Just to prove a point. Also, we could just switch our Pokemon to a type if we need to deal with a water and ground type. But beyond that, not much else to do. Still, these are cool, either way. Now one that makes us walk all the way to the corner just to get to that. Alright, do we have another one? We do not. Oh, but this is just a regular wild zone, so I think we could be fine either way. This one looks good, but it's actually only an AoE type setup, but it's still good enough for us, so you know what, we're gonna pick this up, and I saw what looked to be a dark type, so maybe we could try our psychic type out here to use fairy moves, of course, because dirt type apparently is also weak to fairy type. So I didn't notice that it was this close to ending the episode, by the way, but my bad. Okay, well, let's start here. This is another tricky one. Looks like we need to capture a certain amount of Pokemon species. We're not using the strongest donut this time, so we are actually under-leveled this time. That's the toughest part of these zones, is you have to use the correct amount of donuts, because otherwise your moves start kind of not really doing much. course, you can catch these just like you can normal Pokemon now. Although it says water types. Okay, we need to catch a Glycobon of some somewhere. Oh yeah, I remember how tricky these were. And by the way, no, this defeating setup is not weird. No, it's actually kind of important. Although this is what seems to be a bigger battle zone, it's not at all. In fact, this is one of the smaller wild zones we've seen. In reality, the main reason I went around and defeated all those Pokemon willy-nilly is mostly just to respawn them. Because just like the regular battle zones and other stuff, the Pokeball can also respawn, too. But to even get it to respawn, you need to first defeat the other Pokemon, and you typically need to do that pretty fast. Beyond that, some of these missions can be really hard. We've literally scared off all the Pokemon, and now they're not even coming back. What I want to know if is there a way to actually see what they are in the battle, because although we got some of the other stuff done, we didn't even see Glycopod at all. In fact, we haven't even caught a Glycopod to begin with anyway. So it's already being quite annoying to find. I know it says we're supposed to catch Glycopod, but what's the issue if we can't even do anything here? You know what, because I haven't been able to do much, let's just actually destroy these and see if something happens. We've never actually, like, destroyed all of these, so while we still have time, maybe we could destroy these and see if something happens. Oh look, they finally respawned on us. Except it's just a pod. Yeah, I know. We're about to hit out anyway. Of course, now we finally find one when Impla's already run out of donor energy. So as you can see, not only are these zones hard to deal with, but in the small ones, they're kind of random. So you might not actually want to go in these at all, because that was a really small wild zone. It didn't have nearly enough time to get stuff done, and so we couldn't do anything. And yeah, it's random whether or not it's small, medium, or like this one is also a small hyperspace wild zone. Ideally, we try and skip these, it seems like, because it seems like more often than not, you're not nearly given enough time to capture them unless you make some really powerful donuts, like just the most powerful ones of all. Those are ones where we really just have to keep rolling the dice and get lucky. Anyways, as you might guess, catching 6 species of Pokemon is probably the hardest mission to get by far, because it's literally almost impossible to get unless you get super lucky. So yeah, not only are they hard to deal with, but some of those are very RNG based. And that's why I don't like them. Sure, this is a fun mechanic, but when you have to deal with RNG parts to it, it just kind of gets more annoying than it needs to be, man. Hell, we're just a little bit away from making a stronger version of this donut. So we want it to be as spicy as possible, I think, if we want our aggressive moves to come out a bit more. So we're getting new different kinds of donuts, huh? Oh yeah, by the way, I did mean it when I said I overstayed my welcome and that I went into this when time was almost up, so my bad. I'm gonna end the episode now before I forget. I guess that wasn't too bad though. We did get close to finishing the zone setup though. The way that worked, I guess, maybe it was better to go in a battle zone. So as you can see, battle zones, hyperspace battle zones, they're much easier to clear the objectives in than wild zones, since they tend to be a little bit more random. But wild zones are required to get Pokemon, which I think is much more important, and you can get a lot more berries from them than the battle zones, because in battle zones you have to spend time doing the trainers first before you can even hunt the items, so it ends up taking longer. That, in my opinion, is not a fun mechanic, so as you might have guessed, I don't like it. By the way, I'm not too worried that I still have lower donuts too. We're gonna still have to use them on the non-3-star ones. Though we've kind of done all the good ones mostly already, so it's not like we have anything else to... Did I just save again? Whatever. I think I proved my point though. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Comment, rate, subscribe for some more videos, and until then, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.